Introducing Genoax! Gym Sniper, too many weapons, and 5th impact! Better watch out, Shinji.
30-minute missions is Bandai's new line of 1/44th scale mecha model kits, which essentially are comparable to and compatible with their wildly popular high-grade line of Gundam model kits. Fast 30-minute builds with simple yet intuitive design that results in a solid build with excellent articulation. These kits feature the same 3mm hardpoints as well as the same backpack adapter usually used in Bandai's kits. On top of that, we also have compatible joints at the neck, shoulders, waist and ankles to usual high-grade releases. However, without that mass Gundam appeal, they may not be everyone's cup of tea. Out of the box, they're a bit plain, but customization is the name of the game here. So dip on into your high-grade arsenal and convert these basic bots into fully loaded battlefield angels of death. Let's check them out. Hey, what is up everyone? Welcome back to another review. Today it's not a Gunpla review, but essentially, well, it is. It's just not Gundam, but it's exactly the same thing. This, of course, is Bandai's new line of 30-minute missions kit. These are 1/144th scale, just like high-grade Gundams, and essentially it's like a high-grade Gundam kit, just not Gundam. So I don't just have one of these, I have all of these. So that's the 3 Altos that were just released. Get back in there, you. The weapons add-on, and the armor add-ons. Of course, once again, this video right here would not be possible without those absolutely awesome people over at Hobbylink Japan, so if you do want some 30-minute missions of your own, then check out that link in the description. Here we go. So straight away, first off, we have the box. It's nothing all that exciting, just a picture of what the finished bot will look like, some CG images of them with the weapons, the armor, and it's all a bit monotonous looking, really. The blue one's blue, a bit different, the yellow one's yellow, a bit different, but all in all, they're pretty much identical. But even though these guys are quite simple looking, they really remind me of this right here, which is the Shiden from Iron-Blooded Orphans, especially if we pull off the mask section here. Fairly similar. And also quite similar to the Genoace Custom from Gundam Age, so it's definitely a design we've seen somewhat before. So first up there is the side of the box. You might be like, well, what the hell does 30-minute missions mean? The general gist is they're very simply laid out. As you can see, the legs are on the bottom of the runners there, waist, arm, head, etc. So it means they're fast to build in and around 30 minutes. I've built one already, and it took me 25. So as usual, like with Gunpla, you need a nippers, you don't need glue, you don't necessarily need paint. These things seem to be boasting some serious articulation. Definitely looking good. And there is the accessories you get in the standard box up there. That little bot, submachine gun, and punchy knuckles. So not a whole lot in the standard box. So spinning that round to side number 2, and on here it talks about the customization. You can get all the different color guys, all the parts can be used together, and there's the armor and weapon kits as well. So essentially, the name of the game here is customization. So once again, I totally forgot how much this thing costs, so I will throw it down in the corner so you can see, but if I remember correctly, it's quite cheap. Anyway, let's bust this thing open and see what comes inside. So the first thing we have in here is the manual. Again, as you can see, this is the very basic design, but it is quite intuitive. So this doesn't have a full inner frame. I thought it might be somewhat similar to the Iron-Blooded Orphans high grades, but it's not. It's just armor part, joint, armor part, joint, armor part, joint in that standard high grade way. And once again, there is the layout of the runners. So it seems like once you've built one of these, building a second one will be absolutely simple and won't require the instructions. These do seem extremely simple and basic. But as this is my first time looking at one, let's do a quick build of one. So let's check out the plastic. In here we only have 2 bags of runners, that is all. The first bag contains runner A here, which is all the colored parts, all the armor I should say. So once again, this is broken down into the legs down here, feet, legs, crotch sections here, armor, body, head. So easy looking build. We do have a clear green section here. Also in that first bag, we've got this little set of sticker style decals. So these are just for numbering up your units if you want to build yourself a bit of a squad or an army. In bag the second then we've got runner B, which is the frame, as it says here, 30-minute mission frame. This is just the joints and stuff, nothing too interesting. Runner C there is the weapons and the backpack, so backpack, submachine gun, knuckle thang. And as for polycaps, it's just those spherical style polycaps. These are actually from back in 2002, so 17 years before these guys were even released, so that is the same as standard high-grade Gundam parts. So on the off chance you're not that familiar with these sort of kits, if you don't watch these videos all that often, what you're going to need essentially is just a nipper. If you're curious as to what I use just a good nipper, a meh nipper, and a file. I use the meh nipper to cut off the parts quite a bit from where the gates actually touch the part, so you end up with the little bits hanging off like this. And then I use the good nipper, in this case is the God Hand, to just take them off close to the surface, like so. This tends to leave minimal marks, but if you don't even like that, well, that's what the file is for. This is a file I've had since I started building Gunpla, man, I don't know, 8 years ago or so. I bought it in Daiso, a 100 yen shop in Japan, and there's like next to no file left on it at all, so it's quite mild and doesn't mark the plastic too much. So there is the part before, and there it is after, so it does make quite a bit of difference. But either way, we're just going to snap it all out real quick, right off the runner like that. So like the instructions said, all the parts for one leg is all in the one area like this. So both the legs are exactly the same. That's left and right are identical, so it doesn't matter where you take from. The only thing that's a bit different is the hands on the arms. So everything else, you don't really need to look all that much. Just snippy, snippy, snippy. There's the space left in the runner from what we just chopped out. The leg part joints are just here then. We're gonna chop those out. So right there is an example of all the parts that make up one leg. So from here on out, let's just do a quick build of the whole thing. And finally, there is what it looks like finished. So all in all, without a single doubt, this white version right here does have a Genoese custom vibe about it. Feels like something right out of Gundam Age, but with a little bit more of a busier design. There is a whole lot of detail going on here, lots of panel sections and whatnot. And for something so simple, the detailing is quite cool. The only thing I'm not the hugest fan of, I have to say, is the head. It does have that kind of gym-ish vibe, but like I mentioned already, with a kind of a Gundam Age-ness to it. Kind of simple. There are different variants coming out in future with different heads, so that will make them look cooler. But it does have that mass-produced grunt-style vibe, which I love. I've also built the other two colors as well. This is the blue one right here. This I don't feel looks as effective. It's quite dark. The plastic is very glossy compared to the white one, and in general it does make it look a little bit cheaper. It doesn't look as nice as the white one does. Of course the clear part is different. It's yellow in the face instead of green. The inner frame is a slightly different color. There's a bit of a blue hue to the gray in there, but surprisingly, my favorite one is this one right here. The yellow looks so good. The plastic in this isn't as glossy. That kind of lemon and coffee cream mix looks so good. The inner frame is brown, and all in all, the plastic looks a little more premium on this than the other two. This is my favorite of the bunch, and I never thought I'd like a yellow mobile suit. But then again, at the end of the day, colors does come down to your own personal preference. I feel the blue is a bit dark, so it doesn't pop out that detail as much. The classic white looks great, but personally my favorite is that yellow. And all in all, I feel like videos and photos don't quite do these justice. they look great. So once again, there's a look at them all side by side, and these do look awesome. I do like the contrasting, clearer parts that's in their heads, but there is one thing about these that is a little bit disappointing, and that's they're a bit smaller than I expected them to be. Just a bit, not crazy small. I thought these might be a nice dupe for the Shiden from Iron-Blooded Orphans, but they are a little bit on the smaller side. So there's the Alto beside a Jim, as well as a regular size Gundam, which is the Gundam Mark II, so it's a little bit on the stubby side. Not too much, but I thought it would be in and around the same size as a standard Federation mobile suit. However, I am happy to say that for the most part, the parts are compatible, which is great for customization. The same goes for the leg there, although it is a bit on the stumpy side, but all the joints are made of the same sort of stuff. There is the arm with the Shiden, and that fits in there too, so these parts are all compatible. So speaking about compatibility, we do have the standard 3mm pegs all over this, but before I go into that, let's talk about this thing's own accessories. So this is what comes in the box. It's quite a simple little loadout of submachine gun and a kind of knuckle duster. Around on the butt, it's got this, another thing that feels kind of IBO-ish to me. This thing does give me serious mobile worker vibes, so once again, this is very Iron-Blooded Orphans-y. So as for the weapons, first up is the submachine gun. There is no stickers here, so there is no sticker for on the sight section there. All in all, I really do dig this vibe. It's really, really cool looking. Pop that off, and then into the Alto's hand. I love the fact that the stock slots to the side of the arm like this. That is pretty cool. This is a nice little weapon. It does, ooh, butts, kind of limit the articulation on the arm there, the way it comes up against the inner arm, but I think that looks pretty damn good. As for the knuckle duster, that slots into the hand like so, and this isn't the most exciting looking weapon, and it does have a circular peg in a square hole, which is stupid. That means it does rotate around unless it's squeezed in all the way, but it's gonna flop. So this is a weird looking weapon, and there's a reason for that. There's a hole in the top of this. This is technically just a handle for the weapons that come in the weapon packs. So all in all, accessories-wise, it is a little bit on the basic side, but as far as I'm concerned, Iron-Blooded Orphans high grades had the coolest weapons ever, and these are 100% compatible. Let's try them out. So whether it's a weapon from one of the option sets like this, or something from one of the high grades like this, these are all compatible. Of course these ones are because they've got that standard style shaft. All the adapters are compatible too because it's those 3mm pegs. There's the adapter. There goes the axe. So once again, compatible. That absolutely awesome Gray's rifle, that is compatible as well. Stick on that bottom bit. So there we go. That looks awesome. And of course, if you'd like something a little bit on the heavier side, like I mentioned, everything from these option sets and the Iron-Blooded Orphans kits is 100% compatible. Actually, someone's going to give out if I don't give it the mace. So there we go. There is the Alto with that huge, awesome Barbatos mace. So once again, these guys are covered in those 3mm hard points, so that means you can attach stuff like shields, these awesome tonfa-like cannons, also from the IBO kits. They can attach on like that, swing round. That is pretty damn cool right there. And I have to say, Bandai did not drop the ball with this one. Flip them around, pop off that backpack. So honestly, the level of customization here is ridiculous. So there it is with the high-grade Destiny Gundam Revives backpack. That is with the full wings of light and everything, so these kits are compatible with a lot of the newer backpacks with the double peg adapter thing. So that means this, a lot of things that would have been from Build Divers, all of that sort of crazy stuff will fit on the back of these guys, but keep in mind, a lot of the time it will be just from newer high-grade kits. So moving now onto the articulation on this guy, and I can say it is pretty damn good. So all in all, this is a simple but effective design. There's the head all the way up and down. We do have a bit of a giggity there. There's the head all the way around, side to side tilt. At the shoulder, we've got that standard forward and back joint in there. It goes back quite a lot, forward quite a lot. That little segment in there does pull out like we would see before. We can pretty much fold the arms on this, so that's quite good. Full rotation at the arm there. The shoulder armor is separate, so that can move up away from the arm. There's the arm all the way up, not bad. Full spin at the upper arm. There's the bend at the elbow, pretty good. The wrist is just a standard ball joint, so exactly what you would expect from that. The ab crunch isn't too bad. There it is all the way back. There it is all the way forward. Actually, that's pretty good. There's a joint down here, a joint in the front of the chest, so that works out pretty damn good. We also have that side-to-side crunch, full rotation here. The kind of pantsuit-style skirting armor does not get in the way. It does mean you can see everything inside of that. Nothing moves here. Side skirting can move up and down. If you pull this bit off, we've got a bit of a secret 3mm hole there. This thing has a fantastically designed hip joint. This can drop down and swing forward like that. So there it is, all the way down, all the way up. So that does give you extra at the leg. Speaking of the leg, there it is, kicked all the way up. That then drops down to give you even more. So that's about what you're going to get there with the kick up to the front. There's the kick out to the back. Whoa! We kind of get more to the back than the front because the actual attachment point is closer to the back than the front. As for the splits, of course, we've got beyond the full splits. Full rotation here at the upper leg. This very nice double jointed bend at the knee, so you're not going to get much better than that right there. And just like the rest of it, the ankle is quite a simple yet perfect design. So here we have full side to side pivot up there, and then a ball joint down here. So this is probably the weakest aspect. Down, up, as well as a pivot at the ball joint. And this little armor bit is just on a ball joint, so that can move around ever so slightly. So once again, the articulation on these is pretty much perfect. They've simplified it to its absolute core while maintaining almost full range of motion at all of the joints. I'm impressed. So now we're going to move on to the accessory kits that are sold separately, and first up is the armor. So we do have two different types of armor. That's the close combat armor that you can see right here. This comes in two colors. Green we're looking at here. We also have an orange, as well as the long range sniping armor. This comes in a blue as well as a very dark gray. All the packs are packaged in essentially the same way, just this kind of bottom opening plastic bag. Out that comes. This little piece of paper also is the instructions. As you can see, this is extremely simple, and it is just one runner of plastic. Just the shoulder armor, head armor, chest armor, shield, and then a few optional parts on the bottom. There is the sniper armor, so once again, shoulders, head, chest, shield, optional parts. But anyway, let's snip them out and try them out. So there's all the optional armor sets all snipped out. That's sniper, close combat, both colors of both. And the first thing that I wonder about these is, what's with the color? This is the same shade as the blue guy. This is the same shade as the blue guy's inner frame. This may go with the blue guy because it's a high contrast color. This mucus green, not with him. Take the yellow guy and definitely won't match. Definitely not the same color as its brown inner frame or any color on it. The orange will work because it will go with the yellow. Green, I don't know. And the white guy is just like, nope. Won't mix. But anyway, let's try some of these on. So in order to attach these, you need to take off the front of the face. These shoulder sections, all of these come off very simply. They're not held on too tight. The front of the chest. Then you just pop on the face, shoulder, new chest, and there is that shield. That means these little sections are leftovers. These are the same as the sections on the inside of the shoulders in case you want to swap those out. And this is just a 3mm to 3mm adapter in case you want to, I don't know, attach them by butts or something. Anyway, so there is the yellow one with the orange close combat armor attached. This definitely gives it a much bulkier feel. I'm not sure if I'm a big fan of that face mask thing there that has a straight up V-fin for a chin. I do feel the orange kind of cheapens the yellow look because the orange plastic isn't quite as nice or premium looking as the yellow. Personally, I preferred it beforehand and would have liked to seen this in yellow. So there's the color variant of the close combat armor that is in a green, and I actually think this goes better, surprisingly. It's in a more muted tone of green than the orange would have been. That was a hot, fiery orange, so it didn't kind of go with the muted yellow and beige on here. So surprisingly, this doesn't look all that bad. So next up here, we're going to go with the blue guy because both shades of the sniper armor match. So this is it before the armor, and there it is with the armor. Maybe a little hard to see against the dark background, so that should be a little clearer. Let's give it a spin. So personally, I prefer this to the standard build. This really does give it a darker aesthetic. However, under the brighter light, I did notice that these aren't the same shade as the inner frame. The inner frame segments, or should I say the joint segments on this, are in a lighter shade to the armor, and the armor is in a bluer shade to the gray of the weapons in the backpack, so it doesn't quite match either, nor does it match the inner frame of the white version, which is the same as the gray parts of the backpack and weapons. However, I do dig the gym sniper or grays kind of feel this gives this kit. There it is now with the blue variant, and this is in the exact same shade of blue as the parts that we removed and the dark parts that are on the kit. This does make it look a little bit basic, however. It doesn't have the same sort of contrast we saw with the darker parts, so personally out of the two so far, I preferred the darker parts on here. And finally, there is the blue version with the orange close combat parts, which I thought would contrast against it in a kind of Gundam Blue Destiny sort of vibe. Too much orange on there doesn't look as good as I thought it would. Maybe only the shoulder parts would look good, but all in all, that's what it looks like. And just in case I forget to mention, of course, all the parts from all the kits, not just the option sets, can be interchanged, so you can make your own custom color with all the available different ones. So last on the list today is this right here, the Option Weapon 1 for Alto. So once again, this is quite similar to what we would have seen before with the Iron-Blooded Orphans option sets, as well as the Build Fighters, Build Divers ones. There's a general gist of everything that comes in the box, but why look at that when we can bust this thing open and see what's inside? And honestly, it's not really a whole lot, just 2 runners in a bag and the instructions. So the first runner is runner C. You'll recognize this from the last kit we took a look at. It's just slightly different. Missing a part up here, an extended part here, but this is all the same. So another submachine gun and knuckles. That is then built upon with this runner right here, which is the big barrel for the weapon and the blades. So let's chop it out and take a look. So right there is the entire contents of the box once you put it all together. This over here we've seen already. That's the standard submachine gun and knuckles that we saw in the standard kits. And over here is stuff for using with both of those. So let's start with the parts that are for the submachine gun. So first off, we have an alternate sight. So the sight just pops off like that. And we have an extended scope, which looks like that right there. We've got some alternate barrels. So off with the default barrel. We have this mid-length one that looks just like that right there. So that's pretty cool. So it's gone from a submachine gun to a kind of assault rifle. And there's the final barrel, which is a much longer, larger looking one. This little side handle we see there, that can be used on that version or on the holes on the side of the shorter mid-length one. But all in all, that's the 3 forms. And there is a quick look at our squad rocking all 3 versions. So next up then are the close range weapons, and these can be used with the knuckles we saw before. So what we get is essentially a small bladed knife, a longer bladed sword, and the last one then is essentially a hatchet. Next up, a variant handle. This is a bit of an extendo handle. So we've got extendo knife, extendo sword, and extendo axe. And the last one here is my favorite of the bunch. This right here has a ball joint on it, making each of the hands into a pirate-like replacement hand. So that means we've got a stab hand, super stab hand, and by far my favorite, an axe hand. He's got an axe, I repeat, an axe for a hand. So someone's going to ask at one point, what do these guys look like with a Gundam head for a custom Gundam? So there is the Astaroth's head attached, and it sits a little bit on the awkward side, but there is some Gundam-style armor coming out for these in the future. So that right there is it for the review, and taken as they are, these are high-quality, awesome, yet simple model kits. What you end up with after a 30-minute build is incredible. The articulation's great, the detailing is great, they look awesome. I will mention that in pictures and in videos, they don't look that great, they look a little bit plain, but in your hand they are quite cool. However, I will mention these don't have the appeal Gundam has because, of course, Gundam is an absolutely massive franchise, and it's usually being a fan of that will get you into the model kits. And without that sort of drive behind them, I can't really see them doing all that well. I really do like the base model kits, I highly recommend them. The armor kits so far I'd give a bit of a miss because they don't really match so well with the plastics, the colors that we have available right now, but if you're going to paint them, they will look great on. The weapons, on the other hand, I love. These can be used with the submachine guns and knuckles that you get in the box, so that does mean you can make all versions of the rifle if you have multiple rifles. That little ball joint pirate hand adapter thing for the close combat weapons is one of the coolest things I've ever seen. Brilliant. So if you are considering picking these up, I would say definitely go for the base set. Preferably, I like the yellow one, but the white one has that more Federation gym kind of vibe. The blue one I don't really like so much, the plastic looks a little bit cheaper and glossy. As for the weapon set, I would say go for that too. It's not that expensive and it really does extend on what you have already. But as for the armor kits, I would say so far, I would give those a bit of a pass. It's cool to have the options, but the colors aren't that great. Once again, if you are painting them, that's a whole different story. And as for some of the future releases that are coming out that look kind of cool, we've also got these guys in black, a nice khaki green, and the Shiden colors, hilariously. On top of that, like I mentioned before, there is some Gundam style armor coming out that does look pretty damn cool, and the 30-minute missions Porta Potty is also coming out, which is their answer to the Zakus. So it has that sort of green Zaku mono eye feel. So all in all, so far, I think these are pretty damn cool. Anyway, if you do want one of your own, there's a link down there in the description. You can get yours at Hobbylink Japan. As always, thank you so much for watching. Leave a like, it does help, especially with these videos that aren't Gundam based and don't really get that much traction. But as always, make sure to come back for more model kit and Gunpla reviews, and I'll see you next time.